A huge disclaimer that this is all just my opinion and everyone's entitled to their own. I have my own bias and preference, and y'all are allowed to disagree with me, and we can peacefully talk about it in the comment section. I just wanted to make this video since there's a lot of new Korean BLs that have been released, and I was curious if there's a huge change in the quality of KBLs or if the old ones still hold up to today's standards. And I kinda wanted to recommend old KBLs for the new fans out there. Also, this was just an excuse for me to rewatch BLs. General thoughts slash overview. Most Korean BLs have a short runtime and few episodes. So, the general problem is that sometimes there's just no plot in the show. I feel bad for saying that. Or like, the relationship progression feels forced or sudden. There's really no time to flesh out the characters, so sometimes the characters feel hollow. Like they don't have a personality outside of the relationship. That's why it's much more impressive when you come across KBLs that just do it right. Having excellent story, pacing, characters, relationship, despite having a short runtime. And I think I also need to mention stuff about the actors. There were some actors that said or did some questionable stuff. But at the end of the day, all we can do is speculate. We don't really know the full truth. And in this ranking, I'll try to be as objective as I can. There's just so much involved in producing a series, not just the actors, but also the directors, writers, production staff, other cast. So, their efforts should be acknowledged as well. I also feel like I need to mention that my ranking is purely based on the show. I know that for some people, there's an added appeal of how the actors interact outside the drama. But personally, I think that fan service is really unnecessary. I mean, it's nice to see behind the scenes and seeing the cast being close or being friends. That's cute. That makes me happy. I just feel uncomfortable when fans speculate if the actors are dating or something. The actor's personal life is separate from the show, and if the show is good, then it's good. If it's not, then so be it. Let us all stand responsibly and respectfully. So, what makes a show good for me? If you've watched my other videos, and I'd probably mention it here a few times, I love good writing. What I value the most in a show is the characters and their relationship. I really love it when the characters have layers and depth. And it's important for me to see proper relationship progression as well as seeing how the relationship develop over time. That's how I get attached to a show. Like you feel for the characters because you understand their personality, struggles, motivations, and point of view. And you just get attached to them. You empathize with the character and root for their happiness. That's why I don't really care when a show has a low budget or if visually it doesn't look good. As long as the characters are likable and have personality, that's enough for me. The depth of the relationship and the story is much more important. And I'd choose better writing over literally anything else. My ranking criteria. D tier is for shows that I have a lot of issues with, if the bad generally outweighs the good. I was going to put an F tier for problematic or toxic shows, but after watching all of these, nothing was really F tier, so I just removed it. C tier is for very mediocre shows, and if it's too boring or cliche. And when I feel nothing while watching the show, I'd probably put it here. B tier is for shows that I think, generally, It's good, but have a few flaws or points of improvement. But the good outweighs the bad. A tier is for shows that I think were just perfect. I love everything about it and it did everything right. S tier if a show is a masterpiece. I know that term gets thrown a lot, but I'm gonna still use it. If a show fits the A tier criteria, but also has something more to it that sets it apart from the rest, it's gonna be S tier. Like, there are just shows that hits different. Like, there's just something about it that greatly impacts you as a viewer. The S tier is for those shows. It just hits every mark and every category. Good writing, characters, relationships, cinematography, acting, OST, all that stuff. Now, let's start with the ranking. I've arranged these based on the release date, so we'll be going through all the series from the oldest to the most recent one. Also, spoilers warning. I want to back up my ranking claims, so I'm gonna say details about the show. This is like a review plus ranking. Except for Blooming, I'm not gonna spoil anything about the show, but I'm still gonna include it in the ranking. I feel like people have a soft spot for this show, since this was the first one of its kind. Like, there's been other Korean BL short series or films before this. But in terms of its format, like the 10 to 12 minute runtime per episode with 8 episodes total, it's really the first one. And in the following years, we'd see more BLs having the same format with just slightly longer episodes. And I think there's also some nostalgia attached to it. Like, this was during the times that we were so deprived of KBLs, and the release just felt so new and exciting. I've watched this one before, and rewatching it now brought me back to those times. Now, the question is it good? And I think yes. I was actually surprised at how good it was despite it being the first one, and it still holds up even now. Things I love about the show. The story is pretty straightforward and simple, but it just works since the episodes are pretty short. I really like their dynamic, and I love how the story mainly focused on their relationship. Kanguk is like, I don't care about anyone else, I protect you with my whole life, and Teju being proud and confident having him by his side. They bicker and joke around all the time, but they become serious when it comes to their relationship. And they're clearly overprotective of each other and becomes jealous whenever the other person shows even an ounce of interest towards other people. Also, that I'm so mad at you, but I'm just weak when it comes to you. And I just have a thing for childhood / longtime best friends. The pining, the angst from this dynamic just hits different. They both know it and they both feel it. But they're also scared of crossing the line because they might just lose everything and each other. That assuring feeling that they know they can survive anything as long as they have each other. They know that no matter how long they're gonna be apart, they'd still end up together. That's not even a question. I'll wait for you no matter how long. And the tension, the chemistry, and excellent acting. Side note, but they really seemed and felt like teenagers. So them acting petty, jealous, and not communicating, it all felt normal and it wasn't annoying or frustrating. I also love the side characters. And I just love Kim Pil-hyun, both here and to my star. And Yemi. She is so cute. I love how weird she is. She was really nice and understanding. Her friendship with Kanguk was also really nice, and we love good female characters. This was just so good. It did everything right, nothing felt rushed, and there was no unnecessary drama. And I just love everything about it. And if you're a new fan, you should definitely watch this one. This is definitely an A tier.
Let's try. 내 심장이 터질 때까지.
Rewatching this show reminded me of how much I love this one. This made me so happy. Like, this is such a feel-good show. And can we talk about the OST? It's so hype and just brings all the feels. Also, sir, why are you here? We were just talking about you. I love that there's so much to the characters. They have their own personality, goals, and motivation outside of the relationship. Like Jinwon, as an athlete, he's been struggling with all the anxiety, pressure, expectations, and becoming an adult. He can't sleep properly and hasn't been able to finish an official race. Also, him being an athlete is tied to his relationship with his father and his self-worth. We love character depth. And Sangha is just the cutest. He always looks so happy and outgoing, but he's also struggling with a lot of things. He lost his mom because of a car accident and has been working, delivering milk, to pay for their debt and for living expenses. That helped him develop his running skills. That's also why he's been giving milk to Jinwon for 2 years. And him being so attached to Jinwon makes sense because Jinwon had such an impact in his life and gave him reason to look forward to life. And I just love the writing. Everything was well connected. It all made sense and they paid attention to details in the show. Their dynamic and relationship was just so cute and precious. The reveal that Sangha has a crush on Jinwon for a really long time, and the whole locker thing was just the cutest thing ever, with the little effects and animations. Sangha is helplessly in love with Jinwon, but still fights and bicker with him, and I just love his persistence and determination. Jinwon is like, you annoy me so much, but you're my sunshine, and I just can't help but love you. I love their dynamic. And him being rude, but deep down, he's just worried about Sangha. He really is a tsundere. They were just so cute. Just seeing them interact gave me so much joy. I also like the side characters. Ma'am, thank you for being the voice of reason. Also, they were both so supportive of Jinwon and Sangha's running career. I also like the conflict, its resolution, and the sentiment of the ending. It was pointed out how Sangha's feelings can be burdensome. He depends on Jinwon too much and gives everything to him. And that just isn't healthy. He should be his own person, and he shouldn't think less of himself because of his circumstance. I love that Jinwon encouraged Sangha that he's allowed to dream better and achieve things on his own. And he's so much more capable than he gives himself credit for. They should be equals and just support each other in achieving their personal dreams and goals. And I think that was such a good message. The actors were so amazing. They were both so charming and 10 out of 10 chemistry. Their banter and heart-fluttering moments felt so natural and real. I just really love this one. Everything was perfect. And I'm also gonna rank it A. But higher than Where Your Eyes Linger because there was just more to the characters and the story here in Mr. Heart. When it comes to supernatural genre and KBL, It's already a given that it doesn't have the time for world building and fleshing out the lore because of time constraints. And that isn't really an issue for me. I'm okay with not everything being explained as long as major plot points and themes make sense. And I don't really mind plot holes as long as it doesn't ruin the story. If it's minor, it's fine. So let's talk about Color Rush. I've actually watched this before, but it didn't really stick out to me, so I don't really remember much about it. So after rewatching, the overall concept was really interesting. It's just that most of the time was allotted to explain things and uncover the murder mystery, and that wasn't even properly resolved. Also, the behavior of the characters just confused me a lot. Like, in one moment, Yeonwoo pushes people away, but then the next scene, he's casually hanging out with them. The change in their relationship just felt so sudden and out of nowhere. I was just confused. And it just felt like they were together out of necessity. And obsession tropes just makes me uncomfortable. I felt like they just brushed off the whole self-harm aspect that happened. The ending just didn't felt right to me. I'm gonna put this on D tier. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be talking about the movie version since there were scenes added here that weren't on the series. And I have a soft spot for this one, mainly because of the OST and because music is such a major plot point in this series. And I'm someone who gets invested in music and artists a lot. This is actually one of the KBLs that I've rewatched a few times. It's such an easy watch and it's on Netflix, so sometimes I just watch this whenever I can choose which ones to watch. The things I love about the show. The music. Have I mentioned the music? Can we talk about the music? It just brings all the feelings, and it adds so much atmosphere to the movie. And there's just something about discovering new music and artists. And in this case, Sang Yi was also able to meet him and work with him. As a musician, that must have meant a lot to him. And they sound so good together. And the chemistry. They're just looking at each other while playing music, and I'm already feeling all the feelings. And I just need to talk about this scene. I was living for the angst. I mean, I get why Sang-yi thought that Ensu liked him back. There were a lot of mixed signals. I know that Ensu just hasn't realized it yet, but I still felt the pain. Also, I really don't like the kissing someone while asleep trope, so I'm glad they didn't do it here. The whole premise of the movie just gives so much warmth to my heart. I also like the side characters. The manager third wheeling was so funny, and the actor did so well in this scene. And her character was also really interesting. She is so pretty, I love her. But also, ma'am, I know y'all just want to succeed, but let us not emotionally manipulate people. I know that the music industry is fucked up, and it's even worse in real life, but damn. Now, on to the problems with the movie. The pacing was kinda weird and inconsistent. Also, the conflict and resolution felt lacking and rushed, especially with the whole music career of Insu. And only the last 15 minutes was allotted to resolve everything, so it really felt rushed. But it was still a pretty good movie overall, so I'm gonna put this on B tier. I've already made an entire 44-minute video unpacking the show and making a case on why I think it's such a good series. So, obviously, this is an S tier for me. I love Sojun and Jiwoo with my whole heart. And I think that the show's writing was just so excellent. There's so much to the characters and their story. Also, the acting, chemistry, cinematography, and the OST slaps. There's just so much to love about the show. And if you want to know more about my opinion, just watch the other video. I really can't wait for season 2. It was just announced that it's gonna be released on June, so I'm really looking forward to that. I have a lot of conflicting feelings about this show. I guess overall, it's an above average show. Let's just establish that. Like, it had a lot of good things about it. The dancing shots were just amazing, and the actor did so well. Seeing him dance was just so mesmerizing. I didn't have any problem with their acting and the chemistry. The characters have their own backstory, struggles, and goals, and I just couldn't help but feel bad for them. Like, both of them were just victims of their circumstance. It's not like he wanted to be a loan shark, and he didn't choose to be abandoned and end up being in debt. Both of them are just trying to have better lives. I just kind of feel weird about their relationship. Like, if you look at it as a whole, they spent a lot of time together, they have chemistry, and had a lot of cute moments. Also, Hong Sok helped Shion a lot. I guess my problem with it was the whole setup and their dynamic. The premise of the show just felt silly sometimes. Like, it was framed that they fell in love because of the whole Pinky thing. And too much emphasis was put into that. And that's just not realistic or believable. The whole Destiny/Pinky thing wasn't really well connected to the debtor-creditor dynamic. It just felt disjointed. And at first, the quote-unquote age gap and power dynamic combined felt a bit weird to me. Also, maybe because the character looks and feels like a kid. It was just kinda hard to grasp that the loan shark would be this invested and involved in Shion's life like immediately. It just felt weird and sudden. Like, sir, why are you so invested in this kid to the point of going to his house in the middle of the night? You even brought him cake and cooked for him. Like, you just met him and you were supposed to collect his debt. And was it really necessary for you to live in his house? I mean, the show gave reasons for this situation to make sense, but it still bothered me. Sometimes it felt like it's all just for plot convenience and to make the characters spend time together and have cute moments. Overall, still a good series. I've seen people say that this is cringy, but I don't really think it was. I'm going to put this on B tier but lower than Wish You. I really don't have much to say about this one. The plot is pretty simple and kinda predictable. It's full of cliche and a bit silly at times. There's really nothing much to it. But I did laugh a lot because of the scenes. Especially this one. It's literally, oh my god, you read books? I also read. We have so many things in common. I think we're destined for each other. And that was just so funny. And sometimes it feels like a parody. Also because everyone is here. Like, what in the BL multiverse is this? We really have Where Your Eyes Linger, Mr. Heart, and Wish You. They're all here. If you want a really quick and mindless watch, this one's for you. Just get into it without much expectations, and you'd probably get a good laugh. I'd put this on C tier. There's a lot to say about this show, and I'm just probably gonna make a separate video for Light on Me. I feel like we can all agree that this is just S tier. This really felt like a proper coming of age LGBTQ series. I love how they also focused on their friendship, not just their relationships. And I just love all the characters. And I'm a down protector, so if you think that he was the villain in the show, I am ready to fight. Just kidding. And seeing Shino smile just gives me so much joy. And he's probably my most favorite character in the show. Of course, our best boy, Namgong. I wasn't invested in him as much as the others. I'm so sorry, but I still love you though. And I still feel conflicted about her. And it's the love triangle done right. It was just perfect. The characters, friendship, and relationships were all just fleshed out, all thanks to the 16 episodes. Give us more BL with this length, please. Also, please give us a second season, or a spin-off about the professor, since there's a manhwa about him and his own love story. It was kinda hinted at the last episode. Light on Me, S tier. And I'm putting it second to my star. This is just a personal thing. I'm just more attached to my star, so please don't get mad. I think both are really amazing shows. Okay, full disclosure. When the teaser of the show dropped, I was really looking forward to it. I have a soft spot for cafe/restaurant settings and dramas, so I tried watching the show a few months ago, but then I stopped after a few episodes. But now, I gave it another chance and tried watching it again. So my thoughts. Let's start with the good things. Visually, it looks good. And that's kind of it. My issues about the show and kinda the reasons why I stopped watching it. The show just feels empty. And like, why do they even like each other? They just looked at each other and that's it. I mean, I get that people can get attracted by looks, like that's fine. But even in the latter episodes, they don't really have a connection. And they don't even know that much about each other. Youngkyu and Jisoo are supposed to be really close friends. Best friends even. Sometimes, it feels like that. But there are times when it doesn't. That felt really weird and confusing. And are you all really gonna fight because of a guy? I was just uncomfortable. The love triangle felt really weird and unnecessary and kinda forced. I wish they could have just used the time to develop Jisoo and Youngkyu's relationship instead. The characters just felt empty. Like him, for example, the only thing I know about him is that he moved there. And that's kinda it. Now he's working there. Like, the actors look cute together and they have chemistry. But if you look into their characters in the story, there's really nothing much to it. It just felt rushed, and I don't even remember anything about the other characters. It was just kinda overall. I'd put this on C tier and higher than Nobleman Ryu's wedding. I don't really know what to say about this one. I guess it's pretty similar to the Tasty Florida in the sense that it looks good, and that's kinda it. I just got surprised whenever the episode ended because nothing really noteworthy happened. They just bond over food, and I guess that's it. And now they like each other, but there's really no depth in their relationship. And I didn't really feel the chemistry. And I don't even know much about the characters except that they're chefs. That's it. Like, I don't know why Jungwoo was working with Laura. Like, what's their relationship? He seems rich already. Why did he continue with the plan and still betrayed Dogon? I don't get his character's motivation. And why do they even need to fire Dogon and come up with all of this plan? Can't you all just talk and have a compromise? I was just confused about the conflict. It wasn't well written and executed. And the resolution was even weirder. Like, what do you mean by if other people acknowledge you, then I'll forgive you? Like, Jungwoo being a good chef isn't the problem. The problem is that he fucking lied to you and betrayed you. Like, what? And I thought Laura already talked to the judges. Why would she now agree to have a fair fight? I was just confused all throughout episode 7 and 8. I'll put this on C tier. I felt nothing except for confusion, I guess. This 3 and the C tier are all interchangeable. I didn't really care that much about them. Another supernatural BL. I just felt bad for Yoonho. He went through so much. And I really love the actor. He did so well. I felt his stress and frustration. His reactions to the situation felt so real and natural. And he's so dumb. I kinda love him. And the three of them and their friendship is really cute, especially Yoonho and Gum's friendship. I was expecting a love triangle, but this was a welcome subversion. I just love Gum. He's the protector and Hyung that we all need. And they're actually really cute. They were just talking about the painting and I'm already feeling things. The conflict and resolution at the end was just really weird and confusing. It all just felt forced so that they can both live together in the end. And I was so mad that they left Gum. And I screamed when he appeared at the end. Yes to the three besties living in the future. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed watching this one, even if there's really nothing much to it. The characters didn't really have depth, but I really enjoyed how they interacted and their friendship and their dynamic. I just enjoyed seeing them living their lives. I'll put this the highest in C tier. This is the only C tier one where I was actually invested while watching.
Baby, anywhere let's go with you, baby.
We'll talk about the movie version because there were also added scenes here that weren't on the series. And I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this one. I was actually surprised because I really liked it. And I don't see people talking about this, so I was really curious. And when I searched for reviews, a lot of it were really negative. And I was like, did we watch the same thing? What's happening? I kinda want to talk about this without spoilers to encourage people to watch it if you haven't. But the reviews were so negative, so I really want to defend my high ranking of this one. So yeah, spoilers warning. People were saying that there were a lot of plot holes, but I really didn't think that way. I feel like you'll be able to infer things on your own, and the movie gave enough context. A major factor why I ended up loving this one was the characters and the friendships, relationships among them. I got really attached to all of them. Especially Youngwoo. I love him so much. He is so precious. And he's just the cutest dork. Shout out to the actor. His portrayal of the character was so endearing and adorable. Him being timid and kinda awkward was really cute. I was rooting for him the entire movie. He's such a genuinely good guy and he's really hardworking. You just can't help but love him. And seeing him cry really broke my heart so much. Also, his dad is the best character. He just is. No further explanation needed. And Kijin, the dumb gay vibes was so real. It was so funny how he's willing to let things slide just because Young was handsome. His mentality when it comes to the clothes that he makes was really interesting. He has such strong morals and takes pride in the clothes that he makes. He's very strong-willed and straightforward. I really like that about him. Also, his fits. I know that it's a given because he makes clothes, of course, he's gonna dress well. But still, the looks, the serve. And Liben. He's that longtime friend that has always been there for the main character, with his one-sided feelings. And the angst from this type of character is always 10 out of 10. Of course, I'm gonna also root for him. I mean, how can you not? Also, shout out to this actor. I really felt bad for his character, and I was offended on behalf of him when Kijin didn't choose him as his model. I felt that. I really appreciated how he's always willing to help Kijin without any second thoughts, and he just wants to be there for him and support him with his career. I actually had no issues with the love triangle. Like, they're just really good characters and you understand their actions and motivations. Like, there's no villain here. They're all just fighting for love. Like, I knew that I'd love Kijin and Youngwoo to end up together, but I still felt really bad for Liben. I also like that Youngwoo and Liben talk to each other even though they're technically rivals. For the most part, they were really mature about it, and by the end, they were still friends. And their history made the dynamic more interesting. In terms of Kijin and Youngwoo's relationship, I immediately felt the sparks from their first meeting. And them being interested and drawn to each other from that moment forward felt right. And you immediately feel the connection between them. Their relationship didn't felt sudden for me. But then, they didn't actually end up together. Not until the time jump in the end, and I was also okay with that. Like, there was more focus on personal growth rather than the relationship. And I really like that. And there were scenes that just really hit. I actually cried when I watched this movie. All of the scenes with Youngwoo and his dad were really heartwarming. The acting, 10 out of 10. Also, this scene. Just me feeling bad for Liben for the nth time and savoring all the angst. And this is probably my most favorite scene from the whole movie. It was just a simple conversation while having a drink, but it was so heartfelt and it just really hit me. And this line, damn.
지영우야, 지금 당장 어딘가를 가야 할지 모르겠다면 나랑 같이 한번 찾아볼래?
Also, his acting. You can tell that he was really moved by Kijin's words. I just really love this scene. At first, I wasn't sure what I feel about the ending. And now that I had time to process it, the ending felt right. A major theme in the movie is having and pursuing dreams, slash having purpose in life. So, it made sense for all of them to separate after the conflict and figure out their own path and have a stable career before meeting again in the end. You know, sometimes life just gets in the way of things. Sometimes you just give up on love and focus on yourself and your dreams and grow as a person. The timing just wasn't right. And that scene where they met again after a year of not seeing each other without being able to resolve things. I just really felt that scene and that conversation. And you just know it when you meet again and it feels right that maybe things would work out this time. I also like the use of green light metaphor and how it was used in this scene and in this scene. And the OST in this movie just really hits. I've added it in my BL OST playlist and I've been listening to it nonstop. This is so hype and gives you so much energy. This 3 just makes you cry. And there's so much more details to talk about in this movie, but I feel like I'm the only person who cares and feels strongly about Behind Cut. So I'm gonna stop here. All in all, I can see how this movie might miss the mark for some people, like it might feel awkward at some points. I just personally think that there's so much more this movie offers, and I got what the movie was going for. I really liked how different this felt from the others. I was just sucked into the movie the whole time I was watching it. And this might seem too much, but I'm gonna put this on A tier, and even higher than Mr. Heart. I guess overall, in terms of characters, relationship, general tone and message, I just prefer this one. I've actually rewatched this movie, and I've rewatched scenes a few times. And I'm gonna defend this movie with my whole heart. It's A tier for me. There's just this charm about this movie. If you watched this and liked it as well, please comment. I want to know if it's really odd for me to love this as much as I did. So we already know my thoughts about the first season. When I heard that there was gonna be a second season, I was really intrigued. A second season would be a perfect opportunity to flesh out the relationship and to see more of its development. But then it was announced that one of the main actors wouldn't be in the second season. And that's just something you can't do anything about. So I was more intrigued as to how the story would change. As long as the writing is fine, I don't really mind if there's a change in the main lead. Now, on to my thoughts. First of all, I really didn't like the use of Yeonwoo's inner monologue as information dump. Like just in episode 1, so much time was allotted to explain things. And sometimes it's really unnecessary. Like we could have seen that from the acting. You didn't need to tell me that. And it just gets tiring after a while. Also, it would have been better to not tell everything all at once right away. To keep the tension and mystery. Like, just put hints all throughout the series so that the audience can put the pieces together themselves. Isn't mystery a huge theme in this series? Also, I just want to say that this series is kinda depressing. I was just sad for the characters all throughout the series, which means I was invested in them. Can y'all please just give this kids therapy? Especially Yunwoo, he's been through so much. Just let him be happy. I kind of feel conflicted about the ranking because for the most part, my problem with the series is that there's just too much exposition. But that's it. I was really invested with the characters and their relationship. I liked seeing them uncover the mystery together, and by the end, you can tell that they've grown to care and like each other after going through all of that. I put all the mediocre ones on C tier, and I actually want to give credit to the show for actually trying and putting thought onto the characters, story, and the world they built. So I'm actually gonna put this on B tier. But still, lower than Wish You and You Make Me Dance. The info dump got really tiring. Another supernatural one. I've seen a lot of people really liking this series, so I was looking forward to watch this one. First of all, side comment. The condition that he needs to make the pure-blood human fall in love with him. That felt like it was purely for plot convenience. I mean, the vampire lore goes really deep and has a lot of potential. Y'all could have done better than that. Sorry, just a tiny nitpick. I was just uncomfortable in the first few episodes because Min-yoon genuinely likes Junho, but Junho was just using him. I was just stressed. A lot of scenes really made me uncomfortable, and I don't know why they even like each other. They just made an assignment together, that's kinda it. Their relationship just really didn't make sense to me. And I just really hate him. I know that's the purpose of his character, but they made him a very cartoonish and exaggerated villain. And he just scares me. I feel like the show was so casual about him, actually killing people. Like Min-yoon got scared for one scene and that's kinda it. I also couldn't believe that Junho really disappeared at the end. You really could have done more with the vampire lore. And some scenes and acting were really awkward. I was just stressed while watching this. There's a lot of questionable stuff here, and I'm gonna put this on D tier. Lower than Color Rush. At least Color Rush was more interesting. And I wasn't that stressed and frustrated while I was watching that. I really like this one. They did so well in making the three different periods distinct. It wasn't confusing at all. The overall feel, the color grading, the characters, their behavior were different enough that you can differentiate each period, but still similar enough that it's believable that they're the same person, just reincarnated. I also like the comedic tone. It felt natural and kinda refreshing. I think it also helped with the overall tone of the show. Like, it wasn't too serious, so the whole reincarnation thing didn't feel too ridiculous. The pacing and relationship progression felt right. Hayeon is such a huge fan of Yeon-suk's work. He literally went back to Korea just for him. And Yeon-suk was reincarnated to pursue his love for Hayeon. That premise was really clever and helped with their relationship not feeling too rushed. Like, it made sense for them to like each other from the very start. And I appreciated that they included scenes of them getting to know each other more. Like, I loved you in my previous life, but I acknowledge that in some way you're different now. But I'd still love you all the same and would like to know you better. And this.
전생부터 애타게 찾던 정화연이라서
그냥 정하연이라서 예전처럼 단아하지도 않고 훨씬 더 엉뚱하고 남자고 다른 사람 같은데 그냥 그래도 좋아.
And when Hayeon figured out the truth, he actually questioned the relationship. When things seemed rushed, it's on purpose. And Hayeon literally told him that you're sending me mixed signals. You were so rude to me, then you kissed me and said sorry, and now you're being nice? Like what? And he even asked why and when did you start to like me? even the characters addressed it, and that becomes the conflict of the story. I've seen people say that it felt rushed, but I really didn't think it was. Everything just made sense to me. I think the show was able to address things properly. And I really felt the love transcends all vibes. Like Yeonsuk and Hayeon in their past lives were so cute. I love their little heart-fluttering interactions. I felt the sparks. Also, them in the present. 10 out of 10 chemistry. They were just so cute. I felt the physically cringing level of cheesiness and I loved every second of it. In terms of the characters, Yeonsuk, I'm glad that the show is self-aware that he's kind of a narcissist and a jerk, but the actor made it really charming, so it wasn't that annoying for me. He was a jerk and unnecessarily rude, and I was really glad that he was called out for it. I love the scene and I really love her. We
똑같이
stan.
생긴 여자가 있다. 누나라더라. 그거 네가 알면 달라진 게 있어? 핑계 대지 마. 네가 찾던 사람이 누군지 네가 제일 잘 알잖아. 네 생각에 정화에는 여자야 되는데 아니니까 당황해서 괜한 사람한테 화풀이하는 거잖아. 너 같은 놈이랑 같은 차 타기 싫어서 나도 지하철 타고 가려다. 운전을 하고 가든지 차를 엿다 버리든지 네 맘대로 해. 그리고 네가 왜 그렇게 화내는 건지 잘 생각해봐.
Also, she's got a point. Sir, it's the internalized homophobia. I also like Jinyuk. Like, you can tell that he likes Hayeon, but he just watched in the sidelines because he can tell that Hayeon likes Yeonsuk and just wants him to be happy and helps him in any way that he can. And Hayeon goes to him crying about Yeonsuk, so I get why he's so apprehensive towards him. And it made sense that Yeonsuk was also so hostile and jealous towards him because he was pretty awful to him in his previous life. Also, please, release the OST on Spotify. I really enjoyed this one, and I'm gonna put it in A tier, but below Mr. Heart. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I like this one. I think it gets better after a rewatch. I feel like we already know that Semantic Error is a great show. Like, that's just a fact. The story is pretty simple and straightforward, but the execution was what made it so elevated. And I'm bi, so I was pretty much simping for the both of them during the entire series. We love our himbo and girl boss duo. What I actually want to talk about is something that people don't really mention about this show. Let's talk about the fits. I really love it when shows use fashion as an extension of the character's personality. Like, their personality and how they've changed all throughout the show are reflected by the way they dress. I can't believe I'm actually doing a costume/fashion analysis for a BL show, but here we are and we love that for us. Also, some of this might be a reach, but I don't care. If you give me enough material, I can find meaning from it. I feel like that's been really obvious by the way I talk about shows. I just like overanalyzing stuff. Sangwoo. I know that this is such a stereotype, but it was really funny because I immediately thought of our university. And like, you can think of a specific course and you just know how those people dress in such a specific and similar way. It's just true sometimes. Anyways, Sangwoo. The way he dresses is really simple and basic, and really similar to other people in his course. And that says a lot about his personality. He probably chooses his clothes based on what's comfortable and convenient. He doesn't care about appearances and he doesn't want to stand out. And you can see from his wardrobe that a lot of his clothes are pretty similar. That translates to him being someone who sticks to his routine and to what he's used to. And there isn't even much color. He probably doesn't go out much and lives a pretty uneventful life. And the hat was such a nice detail. It's such a clever way of showing that he secludes himself from other people and he prefers being alone and only talks to others if it's necessary. And as he becomes closer to Jaeyoung, he starts not wearing his cap. It's like he's slowly opening up to him. And my favorite hat detail is here on episode 5. Sang-woo is slowly starting to have feelings for Jaeyoung, but he doesn't want to accept it. He wasn't wearing a hat in this scene, but when he went out of the house to talk to Jaeyoung, he put it on. It's like him putting up his walls again and pushing Jaeyoung away. Another cute detail, when he was thinking about if he should try dating Jaeyoung, his shirt says yes. And Jang Jaeyoung. I just love his style a lot. There's just so much personality in the way he dresses. He wears a lot of streetwear and his iconic leather jacket. And you just know guys who dress like him. That's probably why I was pissed at him at the beginning. He gives off that arrogant jerk who's full of himself vibes. And just from seeing him, you can tell that he skates. And he also have that art/design student vibes. Another side note, I love the look of their studio. It just screams art student. And I love how he has similar style and vibes with his friends. Like you can tell that they're friends and hang out a lot. And let's talk about the whole thing with him wearing red. That's still so funny to me. He really thought he did something by wearing red. He's like so petty and childish in the most dumb way. It's kinda endearing and adorable. And you can really see that he stands out everywhere because he's wearing red. And it's a really nice detail how he wears less and less red as he starts to get interested in Sang-woo and have feelings for him. And he stops wearing any red at all after realizing that he does like Sang-woo. And I just love Hyuna so much. I got so distracted whenever she's on screen. I'm so sorry. And her and Jaeyoung's dynamic is just the best. I love seeing them bicker and fight. Side note that I don't agree with the animal print choice, but she makes it look good, so I rest my case. And Jie. A weird side tangent first. I had a self-reflection moment because of her character. I immediately didn't like her when she appeared in episode 1. Then I kinda paused and thought, why don't I like her? She hasn't done anything. Why am I irritated already? And I was like, is this internal misogyny or has watching a lot of BLs conditioned my brain to immediately hate female characters because they're usually portrayed negatively? And I figured it's probably the latter. So I reset my brain and I ended up really loving her character. Okay, back to the clothing. Her style is also very comfy and casual, and she wears a lot of knitted cardigans, sweaters, vest. And that reflects her personality. He just have such gentle and soft vibes, and she's always smiling. I really love her character, especially in this scene. I was also so proud of her. And by the end, I was screaming, why didn't Yuna and Gia meet? I shipped them. Anyways, Semantic Error is a great show, you should watch it, and I'm ranking it the highest in A tier. Okay, The whole show is a bit silly, and I guess that was the point. The characters and their own weird antics were kinda funny and interesting, but it was just at the first episode and kinda disappears as the series continued. I love seeing behind cut here. I keep getting distracted. There's also nothing much to this one. There's so many characters, but I wasn't really invested in any of them. I thought we were gonna see several friendships and different dynamics among the tenants of the boarding house. I thought there's gonna be more focus on that, but there wasn't really much. I'm gonna put this on C tier. So this one is still ongoing, but I'm still going to include it. Side note that I've read the manhwa where this was adapted from, and I really loved it for the most part. So I was really excited when the series adaptation was announced, and I was really looking forward to this. I even reread the manhwa while waiting for the series to be released. So my thoughts about the episodes so far. Let's start with the things I love. The height difference. I mean, look at the material. It's just too cute. And this actor, he did such an amazing job portraying Hebom's character. You just can't help but want to protect him from the world. And he's crying every episode. Just let him be happy. He has suffered enough. I was already attached to this character just in the first episode. And also, shout out to this actor. He really did well as his character. I was just pissed every time he appeared on the screen. And I just wanted to punch him. Good job, sir. And this is just personal preference, but I love cheesy and corny stuff. So the overall tone and vibes from the show just works for me. I really like watching this show, and my face just hurts from smiling too much. Especially while watching episode 6. There was too much cheesiness, and I loved it with my whole heart.
내가 얼마든지 흑기사 해줄게. 왜? 너무 좋아서.
Now, onto the things that I didn't like that much. I've read the whole manhwa, so I know everything about the characters and their story. But if you haven't, the pacing of the story might feel off and awkward, and the backstory of the characters and what happened in the past weren't really explained that well compared to the manhwa. There were some scenes that felt too short or like it ended abruptly. The pacing just really feels weird and inconsistent. And there's a lot of unnecessary scenes. Overall, still a good show.
또 삐졌어? 삐진 거 아니거든. 아, 좀 웃어줘. 진짜 하지 마. 이제 웃네. 아무리 과제라도 혜주랑 매일 붙어 다니고 메신저하고 나 섭섭해. 그래도 집에서 이렇게 같이 붙어 있잖아.
I'm putting this the highest on B tier. Watching the show just gives me good vibes. Okay, so I'm not gonna say details about the show because it's really new and I don't want to spoil it. And I encourage everyone to watch it. So the moment this was released, I paid for the subscription and binged it. I was so surprised at how good it is. And dare I say, it's a masterpiece. I'm gonna rank this S tier. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm putting it higher than Light on Me and To My Star. Can y'all believe? Can y'all believe? I feel bad for doing that because obviously I'm really attached to My Star. And I feel like I'm betraying Sojun and Jiwoo. That sounds silly. But it's really good. And there's just something about this one that hit. It just hit so much. And I cried a lot watching this. I'm such a softie, I'm sorry. And there's so much to say about the show. I can talk about this for like an hour. And I'm probably just gonna do that and make a separate video breaking down this show. Into My Star, Kamdongnim, We Trust. This took a long time to finish, but it was a really interesting deep dive. And I feel like my ranking is justified. I feel like we really started strong with good quality BLs, and when its popularity increased, as it is with capitalism, there was a surge of KBS, but most of it just looked good, but felt empty. And the popularity of KBLs just continued to increase as of recent. But it's nice to see that at least now we're getting better quality BLs. I'm really looking forward to future releases and hoping that the quality just gets better and better. I'm also hoping that we get longer 12 to 16 episodes just like normal K-dramas. Give the gays budget and production. Looking forward to more types of stories, genres, and getting rid of toxic tropes and more portrayal of healthy relationships.